we live on YouTube? Yep.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're starting.
Turn the TV on. The debate's
The
on.
bell hasn't rung yet, has it?
No.
Yes.
Are you gonna keep audio off until the bell rings? Okay, audio's off until the bell
Okay,
rings.
perfect.
Wait, does the bell ring at 27?
There's 13 people watching right now.
Oh, okay.
Hey, 13 people.
Hi, 13
Hey.
people.
They can see your
Oh, here's Miss Toner. Miss Toner, we're
Hi,
live.
Toner.
Miss
They can
Toner.
see us on video, but they can't hear us yet.
Okay.
Are you ready
Miss
for
Toner
this?
just walking through it.
I'm just gonna hang back here.
The audio's off for right now. So.
Actually, you're not allowed to hang back there.
No, actually, we changed it so that they have a minute 30 seconds to answer, and they're gonna time it.
Okay, you guys do your thing.
So everyone
I'm
else
just
is
here
heart
to
beating like
monitor in
extremely
case
fast right now.
somebody said something they weren't supposed to say.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
What about those hallucinogens in
George
the
starts cussing.
Hey!
That's
Government secrets.
government secrets.
Turner, I think
He
we should.
starts exposing all the government secrets.
I think we should let him in on our government secrets.
Yeah, I think we should.
It's time.
Where are the microchips? Where are they being
Wait,
made?
guys. I don't think audio is muted.
Apparently the audio's on right
Nice.
Microchips.
Hey!
Oh no!
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Unspoken
Can we do an
words.
unspoken words on 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
now. This is gonna be my backup recording.
There's Elizabeth.
I still say it should be zoomed in on me,
Yeah,
but
no, your audio's on.
like I won't
Okay.
add anything else.
I mean, let the people know.
so much love.
Oh my gosh.
This
is my
Are you
moment.
like,
Oh,
are you
you're
like
right.
focused on
This is your
hands when
moment
they're
to
talking,
shine.
or-
That was
Ooh.
my 2-second moment. That was
Let's
nice.
see how red my face can get during this video.
Me too.
Are you cool if I,
It's like on screen. They're forcing me out.
I know, I just want to see if, how
Forcing
I
me out.
can't move
I
any
know,
further.
but they're forcing me out. I'm just trying to get on
We
screen.
Wait.
trapped her in.
You can. Oh, never mind. She can't move anymore. She
Exactly.
can't move anymore.
They're gonna put it on. I sent the link out.
It's like, look for like sort of hard.
I need some water.
Outsider.
Yo, someone, I think you just farted, yo.
Outsider.
So audio, you said is
George, did you fart?
No, it was.
It's the outsider. It's always the outsider.
It's always
It was
the
outside
outsiders,
the
guys.
box.
the left side stronger than the right?
26
Can't do this. I'm gonna cry.
I'll have it
Is
26.
it
I like
the
how
homeroom
only a
teachers
piece
that
of
are
Crying
doing it?
because of how much I care about
Yeah.
my
I sent
student
it to
body.
the homeroom teachers, and I also just posted it on school.
So, but if the homeroom teachers are putting it on their board, why are other people joining from their computer?
It's probably just, don't worry.
And maybe it's like a homeroom where everybody didn't want to watch it, so they didn't put it on the smart board.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's true.
It's like,
So,
leave it up to the
yeah,
students to
everyone should
decide.
be in their homeroom.
Yeah.
I just
That's
shivered.
what my
I just feel like this one is up for the people.
It's
You
not
wanna watch?
I'm sort of like a
Some of the
popular,
kids
you
just
know?
put their homeroom.
But like, with none of the bad parts of being a popular. Only the cool parts.
Only the good parts.
You are recording on here, right? Start recording? Recording on here. Are you sure? Yeah. You're 100% positive YouTube is recording. Yeah, this was my last one earlier.
He's really positive.
What?
Alright. 2 minutes. Alright, you're still live.
T2.
2 minutes until we're actually.
T2.
Am I not in
To a
frame?
start, but
I'm not in frame.
She's
completely covered up.
It's such a tight frame.
Wait, look.
You guys just have to both lean in.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to lean in. Oh,
Oh.
that works. That works.
Yeah, that works. That works pretty well.
Yeah, just cut out the legs. There we
That's
go. That works.
yeah, nobody
I love excellence
35 people.
excellence and
Woo.
community.
Don't forget
And
leadership.
leadership.
Don't even have to look.
Leadership. Oh, I got cut again.
Meow.
Wait, is our audio
It's
on?
gonna
right
Yo,
be-
now?
does anybody have like a note card? It's like,
Is our audio on right now or not?
No, it's off.
It's off.
Okay.
It's off.
If you want me to double check, I can mute it on here as well.
I thought it was on. That's
does
crazy.
anybody have a note card?
I think you should put it on. I think the people would like
But it sounds like presidential campaign.
Woo.
Anybody,
BTS.
yeah, then we got note
BTS.
cards. Maybe like a little cheat sheet. I don't know.
Let everyone take a
One
sneak
pager,
peek at the
a
questions.
One pager.
Get a sneak peek at the questions.
Without getting me questions.
George? Oh, jeez. Oh, shoot. Oh, I forgot I was supposed to be unbiased.
Whoa, whoa. Come on.
Not school, Brian.
That's not cool.
That's
The audio's on.
That's alright.
That's not cool. Wait, what? Is it people comment typing for me?
That's
Yeah,
alright.
as much as the same George right now.
Yeah, it's on.
Why should we censor our campaigns?
That's true. I
Keep
agree
this
with
It's
you.
just
Whoa.
the behind the scenes.
What do you mean by that?
If we
Could you
ever-
elaborate?
If you ever need
Alright,
Just
it's
think
10:30.
audio-
Do you want to get started?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, hold on. Let her sip some water.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay, welcome to the 2022 to 23 Student Government Presidential Campaign. We're going to allow each candidate to start off with a small introduction and their campaign statement. We can start off from the left or to the right. As they answer later on, it's not going to be in a particular order. It's just whoever wants to answer first, and each candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds per each question.
Am I starting? All right. Hi guys. My name is George Cross. I'm going to be a senior next year here at Charter. I'm running for student body president really because I feel like we need more student representation in the government and better facilitation of communication between the student body and the administration. And the main goal of my campaign is really to make your voice feel heard and just in general facilitating better communication. There isn't a lot I can say. I'm an outsider. And besides that, that's really all I can say. I think outside the box. Thank you.
Okay. Hi guys, my name's Alyssa. I'm a rising senior at Charter and I'm running for president, as you can tell. In this campaign, I'd really like to emphasize my commitment to emphasizing student voice, improving our student wellness at Charter, and improving our diversity at Charter. And I want to make sure we're having fun when we're doing this. It can be high school, it can be stressful. Academics at Charter, we all take them seriously, and that's amazing as us. But I do want to make sure we are having a fun time here.
Hi guys, my name is Sareena Modi. I'm also a rising senior here at Charter, and I'm running, as you know, for the 2022-23 Student Gov President. I'm currently the Vice President of Student Gov, and I've co-led Student Gov this year with our current President, Daphne Al Bailey. My main goals for this year are to, again, emphasize communication with the students, the teachers, and the administration, because I think coordination between these three groups is really the foundation of Charter and how to make it the best that it can be for the students. And I also want to continue some of the projects that we started this year for mental health and how to better help the students and provide more resources for them.
All right, and before I start with the questions, George is being cut out by the camera.
Oh, come on! They're silencing me.
I don't want to interrupt.
Sorry.
Okay, so first question is, what do you plan to accomplish during your presidency?
Okay, so my most important goal for this year, one of my most important goals, is finally implementing our reading days that we've talked a lot about this year. We created the plans and surveyed students this year about reading days, which are basically catch-up days where students have the opportunity to catch up on their workload and get any missing assignments in, and they also have the opportunity to meet with their teachers if they need. And this could be really beneficial for the students who need extra help or are just overly stressed and need a day to just catch up on their work and clear it out of their head. And one of the other plans I want to implement this year is during SAT and PSAT week, we had a policy where teachers were not allowed to give big tests or like lots of work during this week to let students focus on studying and preparing for these big exams. And I also want to implement that for AP week as well, because I know this can also be a really stressful time for students. Go ahead.
Okay. I really want to emphasize an organized student government this year. Many of you might not know, but our student government used to be a lot bigger. We used to have, I believe, seven representatives for each grade, maybe 8. And we've downsized this year to 2 representatives for each grade, and then a vice president and a president. And obviously, this has made our student government a bit less productive than it was in the past. So I do want to make sure we're back on track with organization, because that's the key to productive presidency and a productive government. That's how everything else falls into place. I want to get back to creating agendas for all our meetings, delegating jobs, and making sure we're all working on different and important initiatives all throughout the year instead of only planning events as our main focus. And I also want to make sure we are getting more student body feedback this year as opposed to what we have had this year. And I've already gotten partial approval to move forward with student assemblies in the theater for the next school year so we can get student feedback from you guys in person. And of course, I'd also like to have a survey reform.
Yeah, really my main goal with this campaign is to streamline the feedback that students may give to the administration. what I really want is, I mean, we talked about it before, like those town halls, in-person surveys, digital surveys, that kind of thing. I really want to make sure that everybody in the student body, regardless of where they're from or what kind of student they are, to get involved in government and understand what's going on all throughout the process, taking word to the administration. There's stuff we talked, like Sareena just talked about with reading days, which is making things easier on students. But the main thing I want to emphasize with my campaign, and hopefully if I'm elected in my presidency, would be making sure that students are always have a voice in the process and that no actions are really being moved forward with without their approval.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question. So question number 2 is, how do you feel that your experience or lack of, in student government will impact your ability to fulfill your duties as president?
I can go first if that's okay. I know I've emphasized in my campaign that I do have a lot of leadership positions at Charter, but I'd also like to make it clear that my leadership positions are very diverse and they will contribute directly to my role as a president. And really quickly, I'll just connect those dots. I am the cheer captain, so obviously I'm going to care about our social events. I'm going to make sure we have a lot of school spirit here. And then I'm also leading the peer tutoring program at Charter. And that is a big part of my student wellness campaign. I want to make sure students have academic resources. This is a stressful environment, and we should be taking advantage of the resources we have so that we can all succeed. I've also been in executive council this year for Multiplying Good, so I am committed to service, and I think service is a huge part of our community here. And that's a great way for students to get connected. And for students that maybe they don't feel like their voices are heard, it's a great experience to finally make yourself known in the school through passion that all students should have.
I can go next. So I kind of taking the opposite position as Alyssa. I just want to emphasize, like, I'm not involved in many other clubs that are time consuming, and so I've really dedicated over the last 2 years that I've been in Student Gov, I've really dedicated my time and commitment to Student Gov and making this club or organization my top priority. Like during activities, activity periods, I'm always in Gov. Throughout the week, and as I said before, I'm currently the vice president of Student Gov, and my sophomore year I was on the communications team of Student Gov, where we really tried our best, even though it was during the COVID years, we tried our best to get students feedback through Google Forms and type forms, which could help this year with the communication between the students and the admin and the teachers. And this past year, when I was vice president, we organized a lot of events, a lot of activities. We started organizing initiatives for the students and implementing mental health importance and prioritizing that.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really, I'm really the odd one out here. You know, I'm not super involved in a lot of clubs or even student government. And while that could be seen as detrimental, the way I look at it, it gives me a more grounded and better view of what like the day-to-day life is for a lot of regular charter students that aren't involved in a lot of clubs or aren't in any leadership positions, because that is a pretty good majority of people. And because of that, I think that it helps me facilitate better communication with them, and it helps me understand their needs better than if you know, I was in a leadership position. And I recognize that might, you know, make it a bit harder to transition into a position like president, but I think I have the drive to do that, and if it were to happen, I think I'd be able to warm into the role pretty well, especially with my previous experience just being a regular charter student.
Okay. Well, speaking on involvement and communication, do you have any plans on working with the student unions?
I'll take this one. So I really have pinpointed diversity as one of my most important topics for a presidency, and I really, really want to work with our student unions at Charter. I think we have a great Asian population at Charter, and as a part Chinese student, like, I do really appreciate that, but as a part Puerto Rican student, I can see the lack of diversity when there are many deserving students in the Wilmington area specifically that are just as strong as us academically, and they deserve at least the chance to apply to Charter, and I want to make sure I'm getting the student union input on that. I think that's so important, and I'd like to invite them to meetings, come to their meetings, and have a strong connection with them.
Sure. Full disclosure, when we're talking about these student unions, I personally feel like, I mean, I don't really have like the cultural background to really speak on a lot of their issues. which is why I think it's so important to have these student unions, because by communicating with them and helping their wishes be known, it helps me help them without impeding on them or doing things they would otherwise be against. And by working in this way, even though I may not personally have the background to act on a lot of these issues or truly understand them, these student unions can help provide a voice for a lot of these groups. And I mean, that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I also want to definitely form a better connection with these student unions, because I feel that they are not as known about and they're not as recognized as I'd like them to be. I think they can be really important, and it can really connect people in charter, and you can find similarities and like a sense of community within these student unions. So I think that they could be really beneficial, and they also have a lot of great ideas that if it was just known, and that these ideas could be implemented and in the admin, and we could talk to the admin about them.
Okay. So the next question is, what qualifications would you say are your strongest assets when running for presidency?
I definitely think my experience and leadership in student gov has really prepared me for this role, and I know I've mentioned it already like twice today, but I really want to emphasize that I've put in a lot of dedicated time and effort into my role as vice president this year, and I want to continue that as president next year. I think that I have worked really hard and done a lot of things for the school this year with our help of our president. So I think I'm ready to take on this role as president next year.
Okay. I do want to talk about my time management skills. We're all charter students, and I've told my counselor all year I love being busy. I really do, and I've gotten amazing at handling this. If you guys look at my online calendar, I schedule time to take showers. I schedule time to do my homework. I'm scheduling times. I have this meeting in my calendar. I put everything in my calendar, so I know when I'm at my limit, and I know when I can't take on a task, but I do know when I have time to commit fully to a position, and I can assure you I have the time and I have the dedication to commit to president.
Kayla, could you please repeat the question?
What qualifications would you say are your strongest assets when running for president?
Yeah, so I'm at the risk of repeating myself, and we kind of already talked about that. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not in a whole lot of clubs or organizations. Clash Club is great, I am in that.
I do like Clash Club.
I do like Clash Club. And, shout out to those guys. But because of, I think, my lack of participation in these kinds of clubs and stuff like that, it can seem that, I haven't done enough. But really the way I look at it is that also frees up a lot of time for myself. I have plenty of time to be doing work for you guys as a possible student body president. And because of this lack of qualifications beforehand, I think I can really thrive. And I think the most important qualification of all is to be driven. And that's really what I think I exemplify here. I care about the school, and nothing else should really matter.
Okay. For our next question, it's how can the student body be sure that you will actually fulfill the things that you say you will?
I'll start this first. I do want to emphasize that I'd love to bring back agendas to our meetings. I think that's the best way of having an absolute written plan of what we can do. And it's important not to off-track ourselves during meetings and use that time to the best advantage that we can. So I would like to have Google Docs for all our meeting sets sent out to all the representatives, because it keeps us mindful about how much we've accomplished, but it also keeps us mindful about what we have not done yet. And I think by doing that, we can have a productive year, and ensuring that all Gov members, even committee members that aren't necessarily elected, are following that. That's how we can stay productive.
I think that the most important way to be accountable this year is to get to listen to the students, because their needs are going to change throughout the year, and they're going to want to implement different things and get new events and stuff. So I really think the best way to do this is by listening to the students. And again, we mentioned town halls and survey forms that will go out. So I think the students should really, they're the ones who are expressing their needs and their concerns with the school, and they're the ones who can help us stay accountable.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really important question, especially for somebody like me who's kind of built their whole campaign on listening to the needs of the students and trying to build off of what they want. And I would have to really agree with Sareena here. A lot of that's going to come through surveys or town hall meetings throughout the year. Just making sure that whenever a student feels the need to, they can make their voice heard, they can come in, and they can talk to me anytime or any other student government official. Even outside of these kinds of events like town halls and surveys, just being an open book and always having the chance to talk. And I think do that.
Is that allowed? Can I? Okay. I would like to emphasize I've already gotten approval to have town hall meetings, and I am committed to student feedback.
Okay. So you three do have similar platforms. So what makes you stand out as a person? Go ahead.
At the risk of repeating myself, I am an outsider. I think outside the box. That's sort of a big part of my campaign is emphasizing this sort of freshness into student government, this new perspective, this new look, somebody who isn't as involved in past years. Sorry, I keep hitting that chair. Who isn't as involved in past years and being able to bring that fresh new look. And what's important is that though these platforms can be important, that they're malleable to what the students want. So if a student feels that different actions need to be taken or there should be new goals in place, then you need to be ready to switch that, and I'm completely ready to do that.
So I know I've repeated this a lot, but my experience, I think that's one of my biggest assets. And I really think that being on the communication team my sophomore year has really prepared me for this new communication that needs to happen between the students, the administration, and the teachers. I think that can be, during my sophomore year, we talked with the admin a lot. We got all sorts of student feedback. We did forms, we type forms, Google forms, anonymous forms. We did all types of things to get the students' input on what they want to happen at Charter.
I'd like to say I think most of the student body knows that this was by no means an easy year for me, and I had to learn how to grieve, and I got very close with the school when it comes to student wellness, and I can empathize with students because I've been there. I know how important student wellness is at Charter, and I've personally experienced the things that we do wrong at Charter when it comes to student wellness, and I want to make sure that our initiatives are actually for the people. And I realize most students aren't going through what I went through this year, and that the big part is the academic stress, but as a student who, like I said, likes to be busy, I know this too.
Okay. So how would you approach criticism to your candidacy?
I think that all criticism comes from a good place. They just want to help you, or they want to express their ideas. So do you mean candidacy by during presidency?
Yes.
No. Okay, yeah. So I think that if you're receiving criticism during your presidency, then the students who are just expressing what they want to see happen in the school, and you should listen to that and keep it in your mind so that you can really help the students, which is what this is all about.
Okay.
So I did mention in my video I've been dancing for 15 years. I have grown up in the dance world. It's a competitive place. But in that world, we do stress that if you are not getting criticism, you're doing something wrong because people aren't looking at you. So criticism to me is so important, and I want criticism, and I want to be the best president I can be, and I just think that's important.
Yeah, I think that being able to take criticism here is really important. All criticism should really be accepted and looked at seriously. If a certain section of students or a certain individual feels that your student government isn't running in the way it should be, or certain actions need to be emphasized over others, then you absolutely should take a serious look at that, and maybe even look at online surveys and stuff and try and see how that initiative would be received by other students. Because first and foremost, your job in student government should be to place the students' needs over your own platform. Yeah, dealing with criticism is something I've also had to do a lot. I wrote a 71,000 word manuscript, and I've gotten a lot of criticism on it. And really, it's important to be able to take that helpfully. And I've written a lot of short stories over the years, and that too. I mean, as much as you don't want to get that criticism, it's really important to be able to take it and be able to use it to change for the better.
Okay. And what will you be doing to ensure the ideas of the student body is incorporated throughout the school year?
Once again, I know I've really kind of said this, I think, 2 times now. The town hall meetings, we had them when we were freshmen, so most of the student body hasn't had them. And it's such a great way to get response in a way that isn't just a survey form. But also, I do think survey forms are important for students that can't make that time commitment to come to those town hall meetings. So if we're using both, a form where students can anonymously but still reporting their email, share their concerns and share what they think we should be doing, while also having town hall meetings that also include administrators and teachers in them instead of just the student government, is I think really the best way to get the student input on what we should be doing. And also, I want to make sure that our committees are getting stronger this year. This year with our student gov change in platform this year, because we have less leaders, we now have the option for students who aren't necessarily elected to get involved and help us plan events. But it wasn't the strongest this year, and I think we could do a lot of work to make sure that students can get involved, even if they're not elected, even if they can't make the time commitment to come as much as the president per se.
Okay. I would agree with Alyssa. I think student feedback is the best way to get the students' input and really cater this entire presidency and all the goals to their needs, which is what needs to happen. I also agree with her about the committees. We tried this year to do committees, and we had the bulletin board outside of Ms. Stoner's room, but I don't think it was advertised enough. I think students kind of just forgot about it, but I think that if we started these committees off really strong in the beginning of the year and we continued them, and I think it could be a great way for students to get involved.
I'm so sorry, can you please repeat the question?
What will you be doing to ensure the ideas of the student body is incorporated throughout the school year?
Well, we've kind of talked about this before. We've already discussed this, which is the idea of those town halls, like Alyssa mentioned, and those online or in-person surveys. What I really want to emphasize is that I think that a lot of students may have trouble speaking up or getting involved or being able to actually get their ideas known because of the previous years where we've kind of been on a bit of a shutdown and transitioning back. So what we really need to emphasize is getting to especially newer students like freshmen and sophomores with those kind of bulletins, and especially what I really want to emphasize is in-person discussions and surveys, because it's so easy to ignore or not take something digital on a screen. It's so easy to ignore it or not take it seriously. But if it's in person, we can really make sure that these students are getting involved and making their voice heard.
Okay, so we do have to start wrapping up, so I'm going to ask one last question. How will you stay accountable during your presidency?
I talked about it a little bit on one of my Q&As that I posted on my presidency Instagram. I do want to have short, informal videos of literally me talking to you guys, posted on the student government Instagram or even my presidency Instagram, updating you guys on what we're doing. And I think that comes across a lot better than us posting a paragraph on the Schoology main page or posting long surveys and slideshows that only a small portion of you guys are going to read. I'd really like to have basically a chat with you guys, and you guys can of course swipe up on those videos, and then of course we do have, all of us really want those feedback surveys, those town hall meetings, and I want to emphasize again that I do want to bring back agendas to our meetings, because that's a great way to analyze what we've done and how we haven't done our jobs, so that we know how we can improve ourselves.
Okay. So I've known from what I've seen, Schoology posts, as Alyssa said, there's so many throughout the day that they can easily get lost. So my best idea would be to have weekly or every other week updates on Instagram from each committee, so that the students know exactly what each committee is doing. They can then see if they want to join committees, and it can really be interactive that way. And I think that this will hold us accountable and really make sure that we are doing stuff and not just fooling around and not getting anything done.
I feel like I'm really at risk of repeating myself here. a lot of these questions I feel like have pretty similar answers in my book, which is really emphasizing a lot of those town hall meetings and those surveys, it's hard to really expand that answer. Yeah, we've talked about making sure that students' wishes are known, and to me that falls under the same group as holding me accountable. And also, I'm still a student here. I'm still going to be walking around. I'm still going to be an open book. You can talk to me about any issues you have whenever you want. So yeah, I mean, it just seems in the same vein as previous questions.
Okay. So I want to thank everyone for listening. Shout out to the homeroom teachers for sitting everyone down and making them listen. I believe voting is open right now on Schoology. So
We're not.
Is it?
We're not.
Clean them up now.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's
Pulling it up
putting it up now. So go vote.
I'll fight
Alright,
for you.
Voting
Vote for press.
One last thank you.
When does voting close?
Mr. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, end of school day.
Okay,
Before-
voting closes tomorrow at the end of the school day.
Before
Mr. Press.
So get that in.
I'll fight for
Mr.
you.
Press. Vote Sareena.
I'll fight for you. Remember that, guys.
Guys, one last unspoken word.